Welcome back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And the Pittsburgh Steelers did what they had to do and took care of the Cleveland Browns. And that was a good positive thing. It's a lot of things that happened in this game that actually was very positive. And like I say, the Steelers just got to keep stacking wins, keep getting better. Um, especially as a fan base, we just can't. Right now, just keep a even keel. Don't get overhyped, and then obviously, be excited about the Steelers winning, but just don't overdo it. And so we're gonna kind of go over the grades that I think the guys deserve, they earned. Like I say, it was a great win. It was a great win. A lot of positives, that we were able to take out of this game. And short week this week. They got the Cincinnati Bengals, in which we'll get into that more tomorrow. Um, Me personally, I don't like road Thursday night games, but you know, if I guess if you got to have one, Cincinnati is probably the prime team to play. You know, at this point. So, with that said, let's kind of go ahead and transition right into the grades for this week. Let's see what we got here. All right, here we go. All right, here. So, as we said, Steelers beat the Browns 23-9. Didn't give up a touchdown, which was, that was good. Cleveland Browns, typical Browns. The one benefit I would think for them is the fact that they played a lot of rookies. So I guess from their standpoint, they might have a positive outcome and looking on things as far as moving forward. But again, Steelers handled what they had to do, took care of business, and 4-1, got a 3-game lead over Cincinnati, in which they can actually make that grow Thursday night. And the Baltimore Ravens is sitting at 1-5. Cleveland Browns sitting at 1-5. So with that said, let's get right into it. So the quarterback, um, another solid game for Aaron Rodgers. Completed right at about 70% of his passes. Um, Made a couple of throws downfield. Had a few throws that I know he probably wish he could get back. Kind of missed on those, but for the most part, um, he's running his offense. That quick release is just amazing, and he's doing his thing. I mean, this was a great move by the Steelers to get him. Like my biggest thing is I want to see more weapons. I want to see another receiver in here because I don't want to see the Steelers waste the opportunity that they have with Rodgers and not give him everything that he needs. And so we'll see. The trade deadline is coming up, so we'll see what the Steelers do. But as far as the grade, I gave Rodgers an A. I gave him an A. 2 touchdowns, total control of the offense. He did, like I say, he did miss a couple of throws, but when you can complete almost 70% of your passes, and he did somewhat go down the field, and he took a couple of long shots. down the field. So it wasn't everything. It's just wasn't no dink passes. Um, Pretty much got every receiver that played involved. I think everybody caught a ball that actually played. As far as receivers and the tight ends. So I gave him an A for this game. The running backs. Um, so one of the things I want to be careful with is not kind of oversaturate the grades. So like with the running backs, um, they just didn't really get a lot of opportunities. I think Warren led the way with like 11 carries for 50 some yards. So that was almost like a 4.7 average, and that was great. Gang Gangwell, I can't remember exactly how many carries he had. He might only had like 2 carries for for 6-7 yards or something like that. But um, the thing is, the running backs just didn't really get a lot of opportunity. The Browns actually have a legit defense, and but I thought there was some holes there, and they Steelers just didn't really run the ball that much. But when they did run it, they were effective. So nothing bad against the the running backs, but I I, I thought I gave them a C plus because they really didn't do anything special. Um, but I just wish they might maybe had got a little bit more opportunity, especially the way Warren was running the ball. He was running it fairly well, but they just didn't really give him a lot of chances. But I gave him a solid C plus. The wide receivers. Um, well, to be honest, when you grading the wide receivers, you really just get grading DK Metcalf because with Austin out, no other receivers got a pass other than I think Roman Wilson got one pass which he caught, and it was I think one was like one ball for like 12 yards, and everything else was on Metcalf. And going forward, the Steelers just can't they can't keep operating with basically one receiver because even in this game, I don't know if a lot of people caught it. It was one play. The Steelers actually had DK Metcalf playing fullback and snap of the ball. I mean, he really didn't do anything. I guess he was going to try to go out for a route or something, and he kind of came up a little gimp and went over to the sideline. I think like for one play, but that would have been right there. That would have been a total disaster, and the Steelers would have been in big trouble. So, I'm not going to harp on it. Just at this point, the Steelers know, everybody know they have to try to find another receiver, and hopefully they can get something done. But with that said, I gave DK Metcalf a B. Made a couple of big plays, got in the end zone, got a touchdown, which he's almost doing that every week now. So that was a positive move. Um, like I say again, the Steelers have to do something to get that position together. But we'll see moving forward what they do. On the tight ends, wow. I have to give Arthur Smith credit. The first play of the game, he dialed up a nice little play where Washington kind of looked like he was gonna, you know, sit there and block, and help seal the edge, and they actually snuck him out. And I don't know, that was like about 40 some yards reception. The big man was rumbling, and as you could see and tell now, um, Darnell Washington is Pittsburgh Steelers' number one tight end. he's the number one tight end, and that's pretty much all you can say about it. I don't know what's going on with Fryermuth, but at this point, I think Washington has passed him up, and he's the Steelers' number one tight end, and I can just see him getting more and more involved with the offense, and Smith. They were able to. I think he caught maybe like two passes, and also they gave him a jet sweep, which that's great. I like that he's athletic enough to and fast enough to run those type plays. Um, but the tight ends and Hayward, Connor Hayward, he caught a touchdown. So the tight ends they were heavily involved in the game plan and in this game. And I gave those guys an A. I gave them an A. I mean, all three of them, um, really all four. They all got involved. They all caught balls. Um, got a touchdown out of the group. So they did their thing with blocking, helping out with blocking. So I much deserve, a much deserved A, and we'll see how this new game plan moving forward. But right now it is what it is. The offensive line. So as you know, everybody has been really, really down on this group. And my thing, and I admit, I've been there. I've been on them, and I've been all over Broderick Jones and the offensive line coach. But I think it's well deserved. But also, when they do something good, you got to make sure that you know put it out there that they handle their business. Um, Miles Garrett, the guy that I definitely feared. I don't think he had any stats. I don't know if he made a tackle. Definitely didn't get no sacks. He didn't even get no pressures. So the Steelers, the offensive line handled their business. Now, to be fair, and I don't really want to be critical or take any of their shine away. When you watch the film, it was even with Jones. Jones probably was about 50-50. He had a couple of plays where Garrett just blew right by him. Um, on some of the plays he had some help. But I would give the Steelers coaching staff a lot of credit because the offensive line is playing better, but definitely in this game, it was more about the scheme. They schemed those guys. They schemed the Browns defense up pretty well, and they kind of had Rodgers on the move. And for the last couple of weeks, they've been doing that quick. He's not holding on to the ball. And to be honest, he held on to the ball a little longer in this game than he did it in the Minnesota game because he was able to get a couple of balls, down the field. But right now, the Steelers are kind of scheming the offensive line in some ways. It's putting them in some good positions to kind of hide their issues that they're having. But at the end of the day, you don't want to have to always play an extra lineman and keep your tight ends in, the block. You want to be able to have those guys man up and handle their business without trying to scheme everything. But right now, that's what's working for them. And I really don't see them changing it. I mean, if it's working, it don't make no sense of changing it. So we'll see what happens. But with that said, I gave him a B, and that's a great grade for these guys because these guys been F, D. I think maybe you got a C. I think I gave him a C last week, but coming up, they're improving. They're making things happen. So you can't, you really can't be mad. But we'll see moving forward how they do. And then as overall the offensive line, I mean overall offense, I gave the offense a B. I think it was a great game plan. They executed it fairly well. I mean, from the offensive line to getting the tight ends involved, and even the running game was clicking. Like I say, I just wish they would have gave the guys a little bit more opportunities, but everything was really clicking. The Steelers looked like a well coached team, and no complaints. All right, let's move over to the defensive side. The rushers. Well, excuse me. The Pittsburgh Steelers have. I mean, it is a great issue to have. I'm not gonna say they have an issue, but right now, um, Herbert got to play. He has to be the starter. This guy, I mean, you can tell he got stronger over the offseason. He's doing much better against the run. He's not just getting blown up out of there. So he's really quickly turning into a all down edge rusher. And the kid, he gets to the quarterback. I mean, it's just that simple. He gets to the quarterback, and he's got to a point that he's too valuable to be having sitting on the bench over there. When I looked at the snap counts, he actually played a few more snaps than Highsmith, and it really needs to be that way. And you know, like I say, Highsmith, he may he may be a guy that the Steelers may have to trade if they're trying to get a receiver. He may be a piece that they can use to get a good receiver. And I'm not talking about like a if the Steelers had to trade Highsmith, I want them to go after a big name guy. I mean, I don't see them trading him for a second tier type of guy. But TJ Watt did his thing. I think he only ended up having a half a sack, but he does so much other stuff as far as stopping the run, batting passes down, and he just was harassing the Browns quarterback the whole game. So I gave the edge rushers an A. And Highsmith, I think Highsmith got a half a sack. He came in and got a half a sack, and he was solid against the run. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Highsmith is a great player. My only issue with him was just the injuries. It just seemed like he's injured a lot. So sometimes you have to maybe trade a guy a little bit before time and get the true value that you can get for him. But we'll see what the Steelers end up doing there. The defensive tackles again, solid game. Harmon he recorded his first sack. Um, they pretty much stopped the Browns running game and was able to keep those guards and stuff off the linebackers. And as you can see, when a defensive line plays well, the linebackers play well. They play with speed, and Queen was out there laying licks because he's able to do what he do and use his speed, running down plays. Wilson didn't have a huge game, but you really didn't even notice him, and that's a kind of a good thing because he wasn't over trying to swim around blocks and all that to make tackles. He had a free lane to run and do what he had to do. So the defensive tackles, I gave them a B. Like I say, the Browns have a decent running game, and they shut that totally down. Um, and they kept they kept their linebackers clean. And sometimes people kind of get get that confused. Like the Steelers with their defensive line, those guys are really not asked to get to the quarterback. I mean, you get them if you can, but they want those guys to stop the run and keep their linebackers clean by keeping those guards and centers off their linebackers. But I gave those guys a B. I thought they played pretty solid. Inside linebackers, again, like I said, those guys was able to run around, fly around. Browns' running game was not there. They pretty much took that away. Patrick Queen, probably this is about his second game in a row that he had a good solid game, and like I say, with Wilson, didn't really have a lights out game, but played decent. Didn't really hear about him, and I gave those guys also. I gave those guys a B. They had a solid game, and they did what they had to do. So go to the corners. To be honest, the corners really didn't get challenged because the Browns. I mean, we complained about the Steelers' lack of receivers. The Browns have nothing. I mean, it seemed like even Jerry Jeudy, which is supposed to be their number one guy, he he has the drops and the nips and whatever else. But just I'm gonna say the secondary as a whole, and I'm actually gonna add the safeties to this. Those guys play physical. Jalen Ramsey, which I didn't even think he was gonna play in this game. All of a sudden, he's playing 2 sacks. I can't even remember the last time that a Steelers corner that they actually sent them on a blitz got a sack. I mean, I'm almost want to say Mike Hilton was the last Steeler corner to do that. Joey Porter Jr. was back. He had a solid game. He had an interception that it should have been an interception. He just flat out dropped it. He got to work on those hands. But he had a solid game. His first game back since the first game of the year. So with the corners, I gave them a B. And again, like I say, these guys really didn't get challenged because the Browns receivers were really no threat at all. The only person they really had out there was Jeudy, and he was kind of struggling himself. The safeties, Deshaun Elliott, and I hope for him he don't get fined for that hit because that hit that he hit that guy in the chest and he used the shoulder, but they gave him a penalty. But what I like is the safeties were out there hitting. It's a few times you look at the Browns receivers, they were alligating balls. They didn't want to go across the middle. It was a timid, this is the first time that I would say, and I think at the beginning of the year, I had said that the Steelers, nobody's scared of their defense anymore. But the Browns were scared. Those guys were out there hitting and laying wood. And with that said, I gave the safeties a B. Like I say, they played the run game a little bit, came down, made some tackles. A couple of, I think Thornhill, he dropped the interception that he probably should have had. But those guys were solid, especially Elliott. Elliott was definitely solid, and it was a great game for those guys, I thought. So overall, I gave the defense a B. A solid B for the defense, solid B for the offense. So that's pretty much it. I guess we'll go into the special teams. Special teams, Williams. That was just a nice sight to see that the Steelers got a because even though Calvin Austin is the punt returner, sometimes you got to have a guy that just had a knack for that. And Williams seemed like he has a knack for that, and he almost broke one. He almost broke one, and he actually has that look like he's going to break one. If the Steelers keep him back there, I think before the end of the season, he's going to have a punt returner if he stays. And I think at this point, he's probably going to stay the punt returner because, especially if the Steelers don't get another receiver, you just can't keep putting Austin out there and, you know, giving him another opportunity to go out there and get hurt. So, Boz is Boz. He did miss a field goal, but you could blame that on the turf on the field. I don't understand what the Steelers doing with their field, but that don't really make no sense. But Boz was solid. The kick return team was solid, and I gave the special teams a B. And everything's looking good. Everything's looking good. The whole unit was looking good. Um, Return were looking good. So Danny Smith was happy. And then we go to coaching. This is a first for me. And I thought coaching, I thought the team on both sides of the ball was prepared. I think like on the defensive end, I think they hit the Browns with them corner blitzes. I don't think they was expecting that because the Steelers haven't done that in years, and so they kind of fooled the Browns on that. I thought on offense, I thought Arthur Smith was dealing out of his bag, and that was a great first play of the game that he came up with. So coaching, I gave those guys an A, and that's something I have never ever gave that to the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff because I've always a lot of times to me we get out coached, but not this week. I thought the coaching staff did an excellent job. Like I said, the team looked like they was prepared, so they got to just keep working on that, and hopefully have these guys ready to go on Thursday. So we will see. So until then, I want you guys to take care. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will actually see you guys tomorrow because we'll have our next episode of the Ops, and we'll talk about the 6 top players that I think the Steelers got to worry about, playing Cincinnati on Thursday. So until then, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you later.